if you look at the cover of this album and you knew nothing, I don't know that you'd know what kind of music this is. If you haven't seen it, it's pictures of the band. There's 5 members, but there's 6 photos because the 6th one is like a piece of each member kind of
vertically
put together.
Yeah, vertically cut with a laser cut or something.
Yeah, and it's black or white. It's not super high quality. And I was just thinking, if you were just flipping through this at the store, especially the Christian bookstore, I don't know if you'd have any idea.
No.
Well, I mean, I guess with the font, the kind of rough lowercase font, maybe you'd think it's some kind of hard. I don't know.
I mean,
not sure, but
I would think it was a punk band before I thought it was a hardcore band.
Okay, fair. Yeah, that makes sense.
And maybe like a pop punk band before I thought it was a hardcore band.
I would not think it at that time. I knew nothing, but even now, I don't think I'd look at it and go like, "Oh, this is more of an emo."
You know what I'll do, John?
No. At all. It doesn't really have that stuff.
Which is really comes across because of like when I think of this, even though it's a black and white cover, I always think of it as the one with the white cover. I don't know why.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what stands out to me is that it has, it's probably not an artistic choice, but it just has a stark whiteness to it that comes off as artistic, even though it probably wasn't. They were probably going for cheap, you know. Especially based on what I've heard from interviews and from our interview with Jason Fleetwood, which we're going to come up later.
Oh, there's an interview with Jason Fleetwood?
Right at the time.
Yeah, because of the rainy days.
Giving them a chance, basically, with this release.
Yeah,
it's
I mean, you
after.
can tell they went for the cheap with some of the stuff.
They interviewed him after.
It's a 5-song.
Like this? Yeah.
And the insert sleeve is it's not glossy. It's like it's a rough paper that's almost, even though this is white and that first Pedro album had a brown cover, it's the same like consistency of paper to it. When I took it out of the album, because I always remember that Pedro album when I took it out for the first time, I remember how it felt on my fingers, and it's felt the same way when I took it out of the album to scan it for us.
I'd have to look back, but this might be the first release into the nail that is on this kind of paper that's not the glossy. I think it is, but there might be something I'm missing. That's like super nerdy.
That is super nerdy.
Whatever, there's some people out there that appreciate it.
So, in John Caro's As the Story Grows episode, he mentions that John Cottrell introduced the band to Still Life and Evergreen, and in those bands, you know, were kind of that.
Well, Jason Fleetwood
harder,
is the one who learned about Evergreen.
Emo,
Oh, really? But John Cottrell knew about Still Life.
Poppy almost at times.
Because Jason learned about Evergreen through
riffs, and
through someone in Calvary Chapel High School.
Really?
Wow. With Cottrell doing the low songwriting for this. I think that Caro said that he wrote the last song on this EP.
Well, and what I just found on YouTube today, Justice, the drummer, claims to have been the lyricist. So,
yes, and
just to complicate things more.
And actually, I think Jason told us that in our interview with him the other day. So, that'll come.
Okay, so the other guys wrote the songs, but Justice wrote the lyrics.
Right.
Okay, got it.
And one thing Caro said specifically was that he, Cottrell, wasn't so angry anymore, and that's why he started leaning towards this this kind of style songwriter. And he said, you know, because they're you know, like I said, they played a lot, and they're, as you mentioned, they were very young at the start of the band, 92. The guys were probably like 13, 14 at the time, and so they're in the scene for quite a while, even before they recorded the.
John, you were 12, right?
They're firmly in the scene.
Something like that.
Were you 12 or 11 when you joined the band?
And he said when they started playing these new songs that mixed that melodic in with the hardcore, that people were surprised.
I think I was 13, John was 11.
Yeah, I could see that.
Alright, so let's talk about the Scarlet Letter.
Yeah, so this is the first song. I think it's a pretty good song to begin with. It starts with kind of that soft guitar, and then just bass and only bass drum come in, and then slowly you start to hear cymbals and toms added.
Oh my gosh, this guy really knows the song.
that's when the vocals finally come in.
Yeah, there's actually
And
kind of a false start at around 1 minute 20. And then 1:40 is when the song
A
starts.
false start?
Okay, so
I
even
come in.
longer than I thought. Quite a while building. And
Oh.
there's a lot more variety in the tempo than what you hear on their demo or on So-Called. And definitely it's got the screaming and singing back and forth. And one thing I noticed when I was looking at the lyrics is on the lyric page, it's written out kind of as one line.
Yeah.
But when they're screaming / singing it, and I believe it's Jason screaming and Jonathan is doing the singing.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, on one line is "Cut my throat, is this what will?" On the lyric sheet, it's "Cut my throat, is this what will free the fire?" But in the song, it's he's screaming, "Cut my throat, is this what will?" And then the singing takes in "Free the fire."
Freeze the fire.
Which is kind of cool, and I
Right,
never
John?
really
Freeze.
realized that
Freeze the fire.
back in the day because I wasn't studying the lyrics so much. But they do that a lot on this album. The screaming and the singing is the same line of lyrics, but just one person is taking one part and the other is taking the other. But if you just look at the lyric sheet, you'd have no idea.
Are we going straight
It's
to your
got
house
a
or Hobby
really,
Lobby?
I thought the song had a really nice ending. Kind
Whatever
of
you
last
want. You
part
wanna
where it
go
says
there?
alone. So
Yeah,
Jason
sure.
is
I don't have to
screaming
go there.
alone, and then John
I mean, if you want to go.
You know, the second part of the
Or do you
lyric
wanna
where
just
it
work
says,
on some
like,
music when you get
screaming
home?
alone.
Yeah,
He
let's
says,
work
like,
on
dim
stuff.
streets,
Let's
darkest
work on some
path,
music.
alone. He screams
I gotta
again,
finish my
he
songs
screams
here.
above the whole, alone, I'm not yours, you're not mine, alone. Works really well, I think, to end the song. In fact, I think it's kind of the highlight. For me, it's kind of the highlight of the song. Is that last part. So yeah, what'd you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I definitely grab onto a lot more of the melodic part of the song. I really enjoyed the intro, kind of, with the shimmery kind of clean guitar, as you said, over the other things. In listening to this, I end up enjoying this a lot more than I thought I would. Because I thought I would just end up, listening to Fallbrook a lot and enjoying that, and listen to this one or two times so we can ready to talk about it. But I actually ended up enjoying this quite a bit. And it starts here in the first song, honestly. That like I said, the intro is beautiful, and it really, it is more hardcore than Fallbrook, but it has more in common with Fallbrook than I ever realized, I think. Back in the day I listened to this, I never thought, oh, this has emo to it as well. But it does. Although I didn't know that word at the time, but later on when I was thinking that, But it's, I think one thing I really enjoyed here is that the bloodshed that we've seen up to this point on the two Helpless Amongst Friends songs are very much chugga chugga drop D, just, annoying
drop D?
hardcore.
Oh yeah, we were.
people who like
Well,
hardcore.
before the EP.
You get my real feelings on this, I guess. But and that's not what this is.
The EP we
This
went
this
drop.
has some of that chugga chugga going on, but when
The
it
comps we
does,
never did.
there's always that second guitar doing something more interesting, or the vocals are doing something more interesting with there's always another layer of things going on, I should say.
Yeah.
It's never just full force in one direction. And I think I've always enjoyed layered things that kind of make you listen to them and kind of find the interesting parts and kind of weave your way through the song. And I think that the Bloodshed really accomplishes that on this EP starting here.
That's nice.
What'd you make of the lyrics? And I'll be honest, just listeners, in case you didn't know, so Fallbrook doesn't have lyrics, and it's not super clear. It's not easy to make out everything they're saying. This one does for 4 out of the 5 songs. And that's one thing I've enjoyed doing on this podcast is kind of breaking down the lyrics and being surprised by some of the stuff we're finding in this stuff. But this one, I'll be honest, I had a hard time kind of figuring out what in the world they were talking about. I mean, the song is called The Scarlet Letter. So you've got that in the background. But I don't know, Clifton, what did you make of this?
Yeah, I mean, they're very poetic. They're very, obscure. I don't know what's going on in them. This isn't the outside. Choke to declare what is yours. Cut my throat. Is this what will freeze the fire? I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I'll explain
And
it to you guys.
the song starts as the
Is it from the
clouds
book?
script in the sky, the black rose begins to bloom.
No,
which I'm
those are my
assuming is
lyrics.
something bad. It's
Yeah.
growing.
Those are all my
It
lyrics.
says, hypocrisy grows louder, of shuddering cries of what was you. I don't know. I mean, I'm probably reaching. I'm also probably imagining my 15-year-old self who's listening to this. But like he does say, my weakest style is my greatest defeat. I am not what they heard of. Bringing the pain as the punch begins to hit from the habits of self-love. And I was like, oh, habits of self-love. Is he talking about masturbation?
It makes sense
Is
of
this
one
what the
line.
Scarlet Letter
Oh my
is?
gosh! Come on, guys. We were just like 14, 15
But
years
I don't
old.
know. That I'm reaching. That's all I got.
But even then, I don't think it's masturbation. I think this has more to do with pride, if anything. But even then, it's very, it's not. No, there's nothing concrete here. So
Yeah.
I basically read through these lyrics. I tried to figure out when he was saying what, and I was like, okay, fine. That was my
Right.
that was my
This
experience
was
with lyrics.
not a good album for the lyrics. I generally have enjoyed trying to break them down on this podcast, but I'm struggling. I just thought Scarlet Letter, okay, maybe, but nothing is.
Scarlet Letter is about the
I don't know.
Holocaust.
So,
Yeah.
sorry, dear listener.
Oh, no.
we were trying, but
Scarlet Letter is about the
this is
Scarlet
fun.
Letter.
Now the
Yeah.
next song,
The
I do
book
have something to
Scarlet
say about the
Letter.
lyrics.
Me too. It's a really poor segue, right? Because I just said that, and then this one actually does have stuff. But yeah, so the next song is called Martha, and it's based. It actually is a poem written by a child named Martha during World War II, which I finally found. If you Google parts of the lyrics, you basically just get bloodshed lyrics. But I did find the original poem online, and it's basically the exact lyrics of the song. They added in like a few words just to kind of fit with how they did it musically.
Yeah.
But otherwise it is the exact poem. It's from a girl who was in the Warsaw Ghetto. And there's a little bit of I'll give you the commentary
I like how
I
you
found
added that
online by the person
dark subject.
that found them in Yiddish and
What?
translated it.
I like how you added that
He
to,
says,
to the song. Like it had
Look
that
at what the
dark
child
side
asked
of
for.
things.
She asked for thoughts. She asked
Yeah,
for
I mean,
saving
I was
of
in-
thoughts. She
it
asked for
was in
saving
my
of
history
thoughts
class,
and
and I
not-
ran
and to
it-
have a
I
kind
learned
heart.
about the
You see in
poem.
that poem the whole desire of the ghetto not to be brutalized, not to become what the Germans tried to make them. This is a tremendous conscious struggle to remain human, which is expressed so marvelously in the lines of this child, which does not ask for bread, does not ask for warmth, but for human qualities. That child of 11, under conditions of such terror, which I do not have to describe to you, could create this dream to remain human. This is the greatest triumph of the spirit. This is heroism and nobility. This is one answer to the question, how did they resist? This is resistance, deep and profound in nature. The child perished, but she is alive due to this desire. And honestly, reading all that kind of gave me a little bit more, I guess, depth or background to kind of appreciate the lyrics in the song. So I don't know how in the world they stumbled upon this poem.
Okay, guys. This is Jonathan Caro, the bass player and singer of Bloodshed. I'm Justice Constantine, or Justice
I'm a teacher.
Gulmatico, the drummer and lyricist, and I will see if I can get a hold of these guys to let them know what the lyrics are about, since I wrote most of the lyrics for the band, and maybe fill in some history about the band. Okay, we are back over at our pad, and we just got back from church in Los Angeles, and we're going to work on some music now. John's going to work on his solo stuff. I'm going to work on my solo stuff. Okay. Bye, guys. Thanks for listening through our music. That's awesome. Goodbye.